Korra's protection now rests in Beifong's hands.
Just want to point out the God mode Korra can turn on and off at will, so unless they have some sort of leverage on her, they shouldn't be much of a threat. As long as she's sleeping in secure locations, you should probably be looking to protect Korra's loved ones and friends more, honestly. Is this the same medicine ball the gang was throwing around at the gym that one time? The chances of it being a completely unrelated ball seems entirely out of the question to me, so I will say definitively yes.
While you're playing fetch, 4 of the most dangerous criminals in the world are hunting you down. We should get moving.
You just stopped randomly to play fetch, just to stretch Naga's legs? You guys are being actively hunted, I don't know, just so we can have this moment in a second where Lin is needlessly cruel for no reason? Interesting.
We just got a call on the radio about another airbender. Finally, where are they?
A city called Zaofu.
I'd rest a lot easier if you were back safe in Republic City.
Lin's not aware of President Raiko's ousting of Korra from Republic City then, or she just doesn't care? Surely she would get in a bunch of trouble for bringing Korra back into the city so soon after Raiko basically banished her. Ah! Naga's harness/saddle thing here has a very similar symbol to the one Tonraq tends to wear. So just from this landing sequence, the city seems pretty hard to live in. Like, these people are just Joe Schmoes working at a flying dock, basically, but they still have to be able to metal bend to be employed. With something like a guard position, it's different. These are giant earthen walls that keeps the city safe. It makes sense for the guards to be able to open and close them by bending. But here, you could just have controls so non-benders could use them too, or stairs to land near. If this entire city is like this, it seems like a pretty hard city to make a life in. Pretty exclusive, probably very elitist considering how rare metal bending is, despite the show not tending to show that much.
Korra, it is an honor to meet you.
Why is it that only females ever have the off chance of having lips in this world? Aiwei, you are playing with fire here, having that much metal in your face in this place.
He's a new airbender too, like you guys.
It's so nice to meet you.
This, of course, is the same guy that Korra helped in episode 1, and it seems like he's gotten his abilities a little more under control. He uses airbending to stand up, a lot like Aang did in another episode 1. But his still seems far less controlled than Aang's. I dare you to guess what this dude was eating. Yeah, you got it.
I woke up and suddenly I could do this.
Mom! I'm Kaya! I got another one!
You see, with this kind of cinematography, it's a lot more interesting. Of course, you could have clocked that this is Zaheer right away, due to his voice, his eyebrow, maybe even just his face. But there's a good chance you won't on your first watch through. But the show instantly makes you uneasy with this shot and music. The slow zoom in makes it seem like this guy isn't what he seems. The droning music puts you on edge. And you can't blame the characters for not catching it, because they're not watching the show, and this dude seems pleasant enough. Now compare this to Unalaq, who speaks evil, who is shot evil, and both of those things are made very clear to our protagonist, but she can't see it at all, despite it being blindingly obvious to the audience. This is frustrating. This is effective and intriguing. This dude has some sort of moving food cart, which might be the first time we ever see anything like that in this universe. This statue of Toph depicts her in the exact same pose as when we first met her, way back in The Blind Bandit. There also seems to be a pigeon bender in our midst. Mako's fingerless gloves are they have fingers in this shot. I think if a train stopped this quickly, everyone inside would be horribly maimed.
Is this some kind of combat training?
Not exactly. They are rehearsing for a dance premiere.
Kuvira, of course, strangely appears later this season, but she also appears as early as right here, right now.
So, you're a dancer.
Dancer, leader, wife, mother, collector of rare meteorites.
Don't read your Twitter bio at me.
Korra, why did you lie when Aiwei asked if there was anyone else with you?
Aiwei did actually ask if there was anyone else with them when they arrived.
Is this everyone?
Yep, just us.
Seems like a quick throwaway line when first watching, but it's actually important. Very cool.
How did you know I was lying?
I am a truth seer. When people lie, their heart rate and breathing increase. I can sense the most subtle of changes.
So you're telling me it's Aiwei or the highway around here?
I'm Lin's sister.
I found out why you were so against coming here.
I refuse to believe Lin can be surprised like this. Either she'd see them in the reflection of the glass, or more likely, she'd be able to feel their approach with seismic sense, even if she's got shoes on. Even if she's lost in thought, thinking like, wow, this is symbolic, seeing my lone reflection over top of my sister's city. If someone's this close, I bet she could probably feel them coming up.
And after 30 years, the least you could do is say hello.
I have nothing to say to you.
You two haven't spoken in 30 years? How come?
The classic Sokka commercial break.
Those are my 2 youngest, Wei and Win. They're playing a game called Power Disc. They invented it all on their own.
Holy fuck, what are you doing diving to save it, you maniac? That thing could take your head off. Also, this game seems a lot like Airball to me.
Wow, that's a really nice... banana?
It's not a banana. It was inspired by harmonic convergence.
Is it Rava? I don't know how much inspiration this guy could have taken from harmonic convergence. It seems to me all he would have experienced is the sky looking really pretty for like 20 minutes.
And this is my daughter, Opal.
It seems like a pretty effective approach to just have Sue parade the group through her picturesque compound, introducing everyone to her large family, to juxtapose her against Lynn, who despite being in the same age range and in the same family, has none of this. Makes Lynn's bitterness seem like it has a basis even without knowing the story yet.
I'm Bolin.
Opal, but you already knew that.
What the fuck? You were so in, and then you just turn and look around? Bro, come on, you got a carpe diem here. You know what's insane? Asami has been in every single scene Korra has been in this episode so far. We're 10 minutes into the episode, and Asami has said 14 words. This is the kind of set it and forget it bending I don't mind as much. At least these two are keeping a form and moving, so my brain can kind of make the jump that they're keeping the wind currents moving. It'd be different though if they just did this and struck a pose and it kept going. Kaya does strike a pose in a similar situation later in this very episode, but that bending isn't kept up for very long before she moves again, so I give it a pass. I'm really glad they didn't make Zaheer wear the traditional Aang outfit. He would have looked really goofy and bad.
Be the leaf!
Milo repeats his wisdom that he also imparted on Korra back in Season 1.
Be the leaf!
Zaheer's completion of the task is sort of interesting. We definitely get to see the circular motions of the Airbender style briefly, but both his entry and exit aren't very Airbender styled at all. It more so seems like a guy who's very athletic, but not classically trained, which I think is exactly what they're going for. Even in the brief moments we get to see Zaheer bending up until this point, his airbending seems very different to, say, Tenzin or Aang's in just the body movements alone. He's clearly very interested in Airbender culture and philosophy, so his proficiency can mostly be hand-waved in saying that he likely trained in Airbender forms just for physical fighting, as he was known as a formidable combatant even without airbending. So him being good at it, despite lacking any training from a master, makes sense, and his movements being only half airbender makes sense as well.
And the Avatar is with them?
No, apparently she had to split off from Tenzin.
That's unfortunate. I was really looking forward to meeting her.
I sure hope this ominous slow zoom isn't implying anything. It's like that Jet moment, but Jet wasn't being ominous. He was being sincere. The show just decided to make him suspicious and then do almost nothing with it.
I present a seared wild Kyoshi elephant koi, paired with a ginger-infused pea tendril and hibiscus root salad.
Finally, some good fucking food.
Sorry, dear. I'm going to have to take dinner in my office. I just had a major breakthrough on the tram station remodel.
That was my brilliant architect of a husband, Batar, and our oldest son.
They really characterize Sue well as this gloating but soft-spoken busybody. Like, oh, look at all these amazing things my beautiful children can do, and my brilliant architect of a husband, and oh, did I mention my Twitter bio? I love bringing that up. She seems charming to start, but by this point, you can kind of start to side with Lynn, like, this lady seems kind of exhausting, which is once again a well-written moment. We still don't even know what the conflict is between them, but we can definitely see why their personalities clash so hard.
I got to be a pro-bender, fought against a dangerous revolution, became a mover star, and now I'm helping the Avatar rebuild a whole nation.
Wow, your life sounds so exciting.
Even more good writing. We see clearly here that Opal seems to pine for the adventure that Bolin describes, but if you're paying attention, in an earlier scene, her mom seems to override her interest in joining the other airbenders at the Northern Air Temple.
But I was hoping she could train with the rest of the airbenders at the Northern Temple.
That sounds amazing.
Nonsense. This is where Opal's home and family are. You can train her here.
So that, along with the not-so-subtle imagery of the city literally closing itself off from the rest of the world at night, really gives you the subconscious vibe that Opal feels stifled here.
Sorry we're late, everyone.
No!
What are you doing here?
Great question, Asami. I mean, what are any of us doing here?
He's already whack, bro, and Already does not pull that fit off.
You mean my company? Future Industries reverted back to me after you plotted to abduct the president.
Oh, well, there it is. How is that company you've not been managing for the past 5 episodes doing anyway, Asami? Not to praise Season 2 or anything, but at least the businesswoman in the group had to do some businesswomaning.
Never convicted.
That's because you escaped prison.
No, the universe decided to set me free.
The fucking universe back at it again.
And the future is... magnets.
Hey, whoa, careful where you're pointing that thing around here. You can't have that thing in here with all the metal people are wearing. That shit is a deadly weapon to people like I weigh.
I'm trying to keep the Avatar safe and you're harboring a criminal?
Ease up, Lin.
Ease up. She's right. This dude tried to kidnap the president and then escaped prison. The fact that Lin isn't launching herself across the table to apprehend him is frankly nonsensical.
Sure, Varric's made a few mistakes in his past, but that doesn't mean he should pay for it the rest of his life. My chef was a pirate, but now he's a culinary master.
That's good.
Sure, Varric's made a few mistakes in his past, but that doesn't mean he should pay for it the rest of his life.
This line, of course, plays into Lin and Sue's fight. Sue believes in forgiving and forgetting, probably because she had to forgive herself for things that happened. And Lin has the opposite view, probably because she's never been able to forgive Sue. You're telling me the doors aren't metal in this place? I don't buy it.
Too bad she's not my type.
Right, I forgot. Your type is dumb mover star or psycho ice princess.
Or Avatar. Bolin has a wide range. Thankfully, we're about to get into a Bolin romance moment that I actually like. Holy, could you imagine?
Neither of us knew our fathers, and Toph was always busy being chief of police.
The Lin and Sue's father's debacle and speculation. We'll touch lightly on it later down the road.
Because Mom grew up in such a strict house, she gave us all the freedom in the world, hoping we'd figure out our own paths.
I like this beat for Toph a lot. The fact that she gave her children so much freedom and it backfired. Toph felt suffocated by her parents and her living situation, so it's a very natural thing to want to do the exact opposite with her kids. It's like how Aang freaked the fuck out about Appa in one episode, but then pulled way back and didn't want to face his feelings in the next. It's human to want to commit to the opposite of something that was a huge negative to you. But of course, like most things, if you commit too hard one way or the other, there's always negative repercussions. Because Toph committed so hard to giving her girls freedom, she didn't seem to be much of a mother to them, and from all of this drama truly stems from. I think this makes perfect sense and is a pretty strong writing choice.
When I was 16, I left home to explore the world. I sailed the seas on a pirate ship.
A pirate ship is right. That looks exactly like the pirate ship. And that's Tylee's circus. What the hell? Small world. And that's the Painted Lady. And that's a camelophin, which there is a classical Fire Nation dance named after, of course. And that's some eyewear that the Sandbenders wear.
Wow, you're really blowing me away with your airbending.
Why are you acting weird?
Why are you acting weird?
I don't like how you're talking to me.
Finally, we have a good moment for Bolin. We get weird moments like this from Bolin for both Korra and Eska, and they both don't work out. And it's good to see that Opal just sets him straight right away. We needed this for Bolin, especially if we're going to keep in the pattern of most of Bolin's story being about him interacting with girls. I still kind of wish Bolin could have had maybe this season to realize he can just be alright not being involved with someone. Maybe work through these feelings of needing to play himself up to women to feel confident in approaching them, because there's some character stuff there that isn't very explored in media. I feel like the fact is, in most cases, if you're not satisfied with yourself, you're not going to be satisfied in a relationship, and Bolin seems to be in the perfect position to explore something like that. Unfortunately, we sort of tackle and get past that beat in this one quick conversation alone, but I still do think it's good that they gave him this moment. Good, but could have been tackled in a longer format with some more nuance, I feel.
Let go your earthly tether. Enter the void. Empty. And become wind.
I wonder if Zaheer already knew this poem beforehand, because he already mentioned Lahima, and this poem does happen to be by him, and he becomes so obsessed with it. Is this his first time hearing it, or did Tenzin just so happen to have a piece of jewelry with Zaheer's favorite piece in it? And Zaheer's like, oh hell, turn that shit up!
Where did you say you were from?
A small village up north. You've probably never heard of it.
Wait. Zaheer.
This is cool. It's just straight up cool. Kaya putting together its Zaheer, just instantly jumping to the attack is badass. And it's kind of like a jump scare if you somehow haven't put together this is Zaheer yet. Great moment, especially for a character like Kaya that was around last season but didn't get to do anything. Cool tiny detail here. Zaheer is definitely still new to airbending. As you can see, he does a flip here and stumbles a bit afterward. It's interesting that Zaheer grabs this glider from Tenzin's study, and despite it being the classic airbender orange, it seems to have the more modern design of Aang's glider, both the thicker staff and the different designs on the wings, even though we saw Tenzin briefly use a traditional glider back in season 1. This fight's fucking sweet. It's so kinetic. There's so much energy to it. It jumps out at you right away because honestly, there's not a lot to go on for real fights in this season so far. Mostly when Zaheer and Minghua and the crew show up, they effortlessly outmatch whoever is put in front of them, so the fights don't tend to last. But here, Kaya puts up a real fight and everyone gets to exchange some cool movement and moves. We've kind of been starved for this kind of content up until now. Is this an air pull move? It's a little different, but I think it counts. And I always thought this little moment was really cool too. Kaya creates 2 water rings around herself, which is a move we've only ever seen Aang do. And of course, Aang being Kaya's father, it makes sense that she could have picked up this technique from him and even improved on it. Oh hey, Kuvira made the paper, nice.
Believe me, I know my family can be a little crazy and overwhelming sometimes. but I would love it so much if you would be a part of it.
Get out.
I think Lynn's story here has been paced pretty well, despite not really getting anywhere with it. Makes sense of that sentence. I feel like this last shot of her being really sad and frustrated is just what the story needed to make it feel like it's getting somewhere, rather than her just being closed off and bitter. Then it might feel like it's becoming stale. Strangely, I think this might be the best episode of the season so far, despite it kind of being low-key. Character introductions feel very fleshed out. Sue's interesting. I don't care much about her family, but they don't eat up too much screen time, besides Opal, so I don't mind much. The interpersonal conflict between the two sisters seems pretty interesting, even without much info, and you're drip-fed little comments here and there to help keep the tension and mystery up. They finally do something right with Bolin as well. It's not a super big beat, and almost feels like the Korra thing, where surely considering what this character has gone through, they should have been at this point already, but it's nice to finally get there with them. And the ominous asides with Zaheer and him being undercover so close to home is just what the episode needs to be able to get away from Zaofu and still be really interesting. It has this weird on-edge vibe whenever we leave those scenes, so you're always happy to get back to them. Honestly, I think it's a really good episode. Patreon shoutouts. If you want to see the next 2 episodes of Overanalyzing Korra ahead of the YouTube releases, you can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link, as always, is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons. A Stack of Pancakes, who has a government-funded dragon-slaying business, and have you seen any dragons around lately? Yeah, they're doing a pretty good job. Donut, who found a constellation that reads the individual's date of death, but they haven't told anyone because it's really stressful to know about. Kevin Bartlin, who can escape a straitjacket by flexing. Liquor Cause I Know Her, who I actually get more than half of these Patreon shoutouts from. They're the mastermind. Omega Fighter, who survived a 50-foot bungee jump using a normal rope. Peyton McKnight, who found that one Wheezy Waiter video I was talking about, so I found out they're immune to projectiles. And hummingbirds. Think it has something to do with the shape. Tater of Tots, who can enter any establishment for the first time and just say the usual, and they get what they want. And that one Turian, who can choose to combine the 5 stages of grief into one called Wrath and shoot lasers out of their eyes. And of course, my other fuck you money patrons: Blanco, Cameron Lowry, Chief Conquequi, Gene Cree, Luna Invicta, Lurfax1, Matthew Lang, Potato Scream, The Former Meaning of Life, The 1AM Party, and Whitrow. And my god overanalyzers: Two Boots Are Beat, Ang, Alan Garvin, Andrew Watchett, Aropataro, Axolotl Syndicate, Carlo Wren, Chandler Crump, Charles the Fartbender, Kobe Smith, Cosmic Newbie, Deathly Healer, Dr. Xerox, Dominic Saint, Dricker, Emma Not Emma, Aaron Grace, Fire Lizard 44, I'm a Match, Jackson, Jeremy Rubenstein, J. Kerr 4215, John Ajaka, John Warhammer, Justin Scott, Mac, Medium D Speaks, Michael Fellon, Mitchell Gobrecht, Nick, Nicholas Abbott, Peter Bayron, Pogger White, Revenge of the Beefsteak Tomatoes, Rocket Mist, Ryan Maxwell, Sandy Stormborn, Scoobert, Shane Antonacci, Silk Toast, Smarty Marty, Spicy Ketchup, Super Snipper, Totoro, Boboros, Musical Emporium, Von Can't Spell, and some sort of bearface. Next up, Metal Therapy.